The briefing team reviewed past intelligence reporting, mostly dating from the 1990s, regarding possible al-Qaeda plans to attack inside the United States. It referred to uncorroborated reporting that from 1998 that a terrorist might attempt to hijack a U.S. aircraft in an attempt to blackmail the government into releasing U.S.-held terrorists who had participated in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. This briefing item was not prompted by any specific threat information, and it did not raise the possibility that terrorists might use airplanes as missiles.
It's possible that Condoleezza Rice wasn't aware of the fact that radical Arab fundamentalists were already inside the United States. It's also possible she could have been made aware of the numerous field reports, warnings, and intelligence received from 1995 to 2001, 6 years prior to the attacks, or maybe the State Department did receive more than ample enough threat reports from the FBI and foreign intelligence of the last 6 years, but they simply ignored it. By 1996, Philippines investigators into the Pajinka plot, which was a foiled operation that had 3 stages, where one of them was to involve the hijacking of one commercial airliner and crashing into CIA Langley headquarters. If that wasn't enough, the Philippines National Police, through their interrogation, led by Colonel Rodolfo Mendoza, the Pajinka plotter Abdul Hakim Murad, found out there were already a number of sleeper cells inside the United States already training in flight schools. Murad even admitted in his own words that he was to help hijack a commercial airliner and crash it into CIA Langley because he was a licensed pilot who had received training in 1992 and trained at 4 different flight schools inside the United States.
Saying an airplane being crashed into the World Trade Center immediately caused a flashback to informations I obtained in 1995, and I told that they have done it. So I was really teary-eyed, to be honest, and I don't know what to say. And I woke up my wife and told him that, see, I know that they will be doing this, but I don't know when. The Philippine government during that time allowed the full cooperations with the United States insofar as international cooperations against terrorism. And I know that we have passed that information to our American counterparts.
By the way, that's 6 years prior to the 9/11 attacks. 6 years, where the intelligence report from the Philippines police to the FBI regarding militants inside the United States training at flight schools wanting to crash their planes into American targets. Well, if that wasn't enough, Condoleezza Rice just simply couldn't stop lying. Here she is under question by Richard Ben-Veniste regarding the lack of information regarding the August 6th PDP.
No, there
Given
was
that
a point.
you asked me whether or not it warned of attacks.
I asked you what the title was.
You said, did it not warn of attacks? It did not warn of attacks inside the United States. It was historical information based on old reporting. There was no new threat information, and it did not, in fact, warn of any coming attacks inside the United States.
Well, now, it seems Condoleezza Rice surely wasn't very honest here. The August 6th Presidential Daily Brief is a CIA report that entailed intelligence received from an interrogation of an Ahmed Rassam, an Algerian al-Qaeda operative who tried to enter the United States with a car packed with explosives hidden inside a tire in January of 2000. He was part of a Millennium Plot operation, which had many different types of attacks here in the United States and abroad. Rassam told investigators about terrorism threats from Osama bin Laden and al-Qaeda, including patterns of suspicious activity in the country consistent with preparations for a hijacking of U.S. aircraft. The report states, quote, clandestine foreign governments and media reports indicate bin Laden since 1997 has wanted to conduct terrorist attacks inside the United States. End quote. And if that wasn't enough, you also had bin Laden declaring a fatwa on February 23, 1998, to which he said, quote, "The ruling to kill the Americans and their allies, civilians and military, is an individual duty for every Muslim who could do it in any country in which it is possible to do so." End quote.
Try as he did, an alert and smart FBI agent couldn't get much attention last summer when he tried to alert his bosses about something suspicious he noticed before September 11th. He's getting plenty of attention now, and everyone wants to hear what he has to say, including Congress. CBS's Jim Stewart reports tonight on the man and the memo.
FBI agent Kenneth Williams, the man behind the memo that's put the Bureau in such hot water, was paraded before the Senate today, where he tried to explain that even if his suggestion to interview Middle Eastern students at U.S. flight schools had been taken, it probably wouldn't have stopped September the 11th. What the senators wanted to hear, however, was why his suggestion wasn't acted on in the first place.
And even to this day, no one seems to know who knew what, why, or where these critical information went at FBI headquarters.
Officials familiar with the memo now say it was prompted by Williams' hunch that followers of Osama bin Laden might be trying to infiltrate the aviation industry as either baggage handlers, flight attendants, or even as pilots. Then, on July 10th, Williams and an analyst sent a 5-page summary to FBI headquarters that listed the names of 10 Middle Eastern students in Phoenix and suggested the FBI check all other flight schools for similar students. A week later, the FBI provided the 10 names to the CIA, which replied it had no information on them. But citing manpower problems, the Bureau never did check out other flight schools. And it wasn't until days after the 9/11 attacks, when Phoenix-based agents complained to headquarters, that the memo finally made it into the hands of Assistant FBI Director Dale Watson, who quickly recognized its significance.
We are like a soccer goalkeeper. We can block 99 shots, and the only thing anyone will ever remember is the one that gets through.
The bottom line, officials admit, is that no one knows for sure what would have happened if the Bureau had aggressively followed up on all the Phoenix memo suggestions. One certainty, however, is that if they had, they wouldn't be answering all these questions now. Jim Stewart, CBS News, Washington.
You also had intelligence reports that were completely ignored, such as the FBI field report famously entitled the Phoenix Memo, named after field agent Kenneth Williams. The report was from a confidential informant named Abu Yusuf, who found out through Arab circles over the years that there was a number of militants in the Phoenix area who were training at flight schools. Williams advised the Bureau and New York of the possibility of a coordinated effort by Osama bin Laden to send students to the United States to attend civil aviation universities and colleges. Phoenix has observed an inordinate number of individuals of investigative interest who were attending or who have attended civil aviation universities and colleges in the state of Arizona. The memo was seen by over a dozen FBI officials, but was not seen by anyone in the Bush administration until May of 2002, thanks in part to the FBI director at the time, Robert Mueller, who didn't pass it on to anyone inside the agency. So as you can see for yourself, the intelligence warnings about planes being used as weapons by Arab terrorists training at flight schools going back 6-7 years prior to the 9/11 attacks, along with bin Laden declaring war on the United States, were abundantly made clear, not just to the FBI, the CIA, and the State Department. It just wasn't acted on. The question is, why not?